What's up, Mike?
Oh, just fixing stuff. Fixing stuff. I did it. Remember, I was telling you about this update to Builder that I did, where it moved all the files to a subfolder, so everything's not loaded in the executable file.
Yeah.
It's great. It's really great until you decide, hey, let's take a step out of what I'm doing and add a copy text to clipboard button and then run the update after you make a backup of your database file, and then rush to generate your daily schedule from the tool, and then just happen to browse through just to make sure things are there and realize that none of your descriptions are there and none of your new events are there because it created a fresh database with everything in it. So it had just the generic reoccurring events and none of my new stuff. Thankfully, I copied my database, but this is why we back our stuff up, people, not just your computers.
This is why you do backups.
Because I just copied that folder over itself, which would make sense, but I forgot to put the database back in place. So, yep, that's going to be my next problem to solve.
I was going to say, is there a means where you can have this not overwrite the database or pull in the correct information once you...
There is, and I think what I'll do is go in and change the location of the database and put the database somewhere else, so that way I can overwrite the underlying internal files file folder whenever I make changes to the program, so those can be pushed, or so I don't have to worry about it, and the program is looking for the database by default in a different location. So even if that has a database file, then it doesn't matter because the system's going to look for it in a different location.
Gotcha. It's sort of like when people throw stuff in your documents folder or your library/application support folder so they don't overwrite their data when they're updating the internals of the app, and your data doesn't get overwritten.
Yeah.
Like, I had a ton of files and text made 5 years ago when it was last updated, and then they disappeared.
And now I'm disconcerted, and I need to go look, because it's one of those things you just don't know, and I need to go look at the logs, because when you're doing programming stuff, one of the first things you should tell AI to do when you're building out a program is add logs. Have the program log what happens, especially if it's got multiple moving parts. And I looked at the last modified date of the database, and it said March 1st. But my actual database with the actual data was last modified on February 27th, and I don't like those discrepancies. Because that means something happened to the data when I replaced the database, if that makes sense. I think it just logged last modified because the program was opened and someone generated a schedule with it, and I don't think any changes were actually made, but I'll be able to verify that when I look at the logs tomorrow, because thinking and actually happening can be two totally different things, and this just reiterates the fact that I need to figure out a cloud solution.
All right. Well, I'm on a Vocaster too.
Hey, that's good. Did you do auto gain?
I did do auto gain, except I had to open the app to do it because I thought the button was the last one, but apparently I don't know what I'm doing.
Did you press and hold it?
No, I did not.
You got to press and hold it, wait for a couple of seconds, start talking, or keep talking until you don't hear yourself in your headphones anymore, and then you know you're doing auto gain.
Okay. Yeah, I installed the app because I was like, maybe it has updates or something I should do.
Did it have any updates?
It actually did not.
Wow, that's shocking, but also not really, because it just works.
It does kind of just work. And I've updated it since I've gotten this one from you, so I don't imagine that they would be doing a ton of updates to it at this point. But yeah, continuing on the path. So this is the next step, I would say. If you start with a USB mic, we have recommended Audio Technicas or Samsungs. Those are USB capable as well as XLR. So now you want to step it up a bit to an XLR interface. The Vocaster 1, which is what I'm using, Mike's using the Vocaster 2, pretty decent little interfaces for wanting a little bit more professional sound. You still can use the same mic if you bought one of the ones that we suggested in 152.
Yep.
You will be able to easily transition over. One reason you may want to go here, and again, this is not a necessary step. It's like you want to make this step because you want to incorporate more aspects to your audio. For example, with the Vocaster 1 or 2, you have aux input options. So now you can bring in a phone or another device to play audio. So if you're doing tutorials or walkthroughs of apps, it's a super easy way to do with that.
Yep.
If you're on Windows, all of these channels that are available to you show up. I think, do you have to install that
Yeah. The Vocaster
driver?
Hub.
Oh, just the hub? You don't have to
just the
install
hub.
the driver. Okay. So there's an application called Vocaster Hub, which is fully accessible on Mac and Windows. Windows, your channels just show up for you across the system. So you could route JAWS or NVDA or whatever screen reader you may be using or other audio to different channels of this interface. If you're on the Mac, that's going to become a little bit more difficult. Not impossible to do, but just a little bit more difficult. Loopback is the solution that I go to instantly for any kind of weird virtual audio routing on Windows, on Mac OS, mostly because I own it. For Zoom, however, you can just select your input so you're not routing all of your audio channels into the Zoom call, which is what I did for this call. So Mike's only hearing me and not hearing voiceover and all of that going on. There are some you know what? I'm not gonna say that because I don't remember now if there still is a tool out there. I know Black Hole is going away, but I feel like somebody created another virtual audio device tool for the Mac that was free, but I don't remember.
If you're on the Mac and you're doing anything with audio, just go buy Audio Hijack and Loopback and Farrago. It's extra money, but in my opinion, if you're doing anything with audio, you should have those 3 apps.
Yeah, I would say even before you go over from a USB mic to an audio interface,
Yes.
buy those apps if you're on the Mac.
Yes.
That in my opinion is money better spent to be able to upgrade your audio or upgrade your experience and your capabilities with audio. Is go buy that bundle from Rogue Amoeba even before you decide I'm going to get a Vocaster or any of the other audio interfaces that we'll mention over the course of this
Mini-series.
series. Yeah, this mini-series. There you go. I was looking for a word for that. This mini-series that we're doing.
Yeah.
But the Vocaster it has significantly come down in price from when it released.
Yes.
Significantly, to the point that I'm a little upset how cheap it is now. Because me and Mike both got into them. I know I bought mine. I can't remember if you bought yours or how did you acquire yours?
Yep, I bought mine, and I bought mine for more than what the 2 is going for now.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like the one, when we bought ours, Mike bought the 1, and it cost more than what the 2 is going for now. And I bought the 2, and yeah.
Now, one thing you might be interested in, and this does make a difference. Two facts about this particular device. One, I forgot that the aux port is bidirectional. So I was in Zoom on the Windows machine and had the Windows machine plugged into the aux port, and I was doing stuff on the Mac, and someone's like, "We're hearing someone's JAWS." I'm like, well, it's not mine because you can't hear my JAWS. And then they're like, yeah, it just said male. That's not JAWS. And I'm like, damn it. Quickly learned what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So with the...
And the second thing is, if you're interested in the Vocaster 2 or 1 and you're interested in this, if you can swing it and the price difference isn't as significant as what it used to be, I would recommend the 2 over the 1 for the simple fact is that the 2 offers Bluetooth and the 1 does not. And I think that could make a big difference, especially if someone's doing demonstrations on their phone, and it will limit some of the wires that you have. I've used this device as a mini mixer, as you just heard when I was using the aux port. Like I have my Windows machine plugged in right now, going into the Mac because of the way that I have routing set up. Damashe won't hear anything that I do on the Windows machine. When you're on Windows with the Vocaster plugged in over USB, you can set that up. Damashe mentioned that you have the flexibility on Windows of picking your channels. You do have to go in and right-click the system tray for Vocaster Hub, and there's an option that says show/hide channels. And by default, you only have a stereo pair shown. So you need to go in and check the boxes that will allow you to select whatever audio device you want in Windows based on what's available in the Vocaster.
Yeah, so currently on Amazon, at least, I'm seeing the Vocaster 1 for $99. The Vocaster 2 is $115.
Yeah, just get that too. Just saying. Yeah, and I've seen the Vocaster 2 as low as $99.
Yeah, I feel like I saw the Vocaster 1 around like 50-ish, $60 at one point somewhere.
Yep.
And I just clicked on the first link that came up in my search results for it. So I didn't actually do any major research. It's just like, oh, it's Amazon, so I know they'll have a decent price. I do agree with Mike. If it's affordable enough, I would go for the 2 because it's going to give you more flexibility long term. One thing you don't want to do, and one thing about audio equipment, and I will say this about the Vocaster. Many people said this when we all were buying them when they first came out. The company that makes it is Focusrite, which has a long history of audio equipment, audio interfaces specifically is what I know them for. I don't know what else they may make, but audio interfaces is what they're well known for.
Yeah, you might have heard the Scarlett.
Yep, the Scarlett line is very popular amongst creators and podcasters over the years.
Yep.
Their Clarion line, I think, is the higher end. The major issue that we as screen reader users had with the Focusrite equipment in the past is it requires software to do certain types of configurations, and that software was never accessible. The Vocaster was the first time that software was completely accessible. Now it's a completely separate piece of software for the Vocaster versus what you used for the Focusrite Scarlett lineup. But they made the effort, and it was well worth it. I have since heard, I can't verify this, and I'm not going to verify it, meaning I'm not going to go buy a Scarlett anything to test it to find out. But I hear that the software for those is also now accessible, but I've never used one, so I can't speak to it. However, the Vocaster itself is plastic. I think it's actually made out of, I think one of their big things is like it was made from completely recycled materials or mostly recycled materials, which is a super cool thing for the environment. However, it does feel it doesn't feel cheap plasticky in the way that the DJI mics, for example, like they're both plastic, made of some sort of plastic. The Vocaster feels like it's more resilient plastic than the DJI mics. DJI mic mini was for sure. That just feels like almost like it just like the be careful when you put it. Don't throw your bag, right? Like you got it in the bottom of a bag. Like don't throw your bag. The Vocaster feels a little bit more sturdier. And as witness, I mean, Mike is using the 2 that I bought. When did the Vocaster come out? It was like 2021 sometime.
Yeah, somewhere in that time frame. It could have been 22, but it wasn't much later than that. And man, this Vocaster 2 has gone through a lot, at least with me. Like it's gone thrown in bags, it's gotten fallen off desk, and it still works. It still works.
Yeah, so they're pretty solid, and that's one reason to recommend that if you can swing it and you think you may have need for it, for sure. I wouldn't say buy it just because you buy it, but if you think you're ever going to want to add a second person or use a second input beyond the added capability of the Bluetooth, because there is a second XLR input, which, just a tip, because I don't think many people think about this sometimes, unless you spend time talking to me or Mike. And sometimes I feel like I have to remind Michael this. Hey man, you got a second XLR port. There are things called XLR to eighth inch adapters,
Yep.
or XLR to whatever, and that allows you to bring something else in on a completely separate channel without mixing your audio. So, if you think you have use for it, definitely go for the two. The Bluetooth is there, pretty easy to set up. There's of course the aux, which is on both units. As Mike said, that is bidirectional. So in theory, you could plug in your phone. And I say in theory because I probably did test this when I first got it. But you could plug in your iPhone or your Android phone or your maybe a blind shell. I'm not certain.
You could.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done it on the blind shell.
And have a person on the phone so that you can do a recorded interview. Now, no onboard recording for the Vocaster. That is a potential downside. If you're looking at this for travel, it has to be plugged into a device. I can factually tell you that plugging it into an iPhone or an iPad will render those channels out for you depending on the app you're using. I was using Fairlight. I generally am going to always refer to Fairlight when I use any sort of audio recording on an iOS device. My guess is this would also function in GarageBand on iOS, if that's still a thing. Is GarageBand still an app? Is it still a part of Apple's lineup?
I don't know if Apple knows. Yeah, but you just got to buy the Creator Bundle, don't you know?
No, that's Logic. That's Logic.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's Logic.
Yeah, the one that they used to pre-install on your phones and your iPads for a while. Like you would get, numbers, keynote pages, iMovie, and GarageBand, which I would instantly delete all of those except for numbers and keynote.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a pretty solid device for the price. It is really good equipment, as witnessed by the fact that we're still using them several years later. It's not my main interface; it is Michael's main interface, I think.
Yep.
Most of the time. Other niceties: a built-in mute button, which is one of the reasons that I instantly kind of went out and got one. Even though I probably really at that time really shouldn't have been trying to spend the money for it, but I went out and got one.
And it's a quiet mute button.
Huh? Yeah,
it's
it is a very quiet
mute button.
Yeah, so you can mute and nobody knows you're muted.
Exactly.
Like
You didn't hear you muted.
You didn't hear me mute. I have a physical mute button on my desk that sits in line, so I have to plug in the mic into that, and then it goes from. There's another cable that goes from that into the audio interface. That you can hear if I'm not careful about how hard I hit it.
Yep.
If I carefully press it down, people won't hear it click.
Slowly creep it down, but then usually you need to mute quickly.
But if I'm about to have like a coughing fit and I'm trying to shut that off real quick, like you're gonna know I'm muted. Like you're gonna hear it. It's gonna be audible in the recording or the setting. But pretty nice auto gain, as Mike mentioned. That's just a way to set your gain level, which means you're not fooling around with. And I think that is one of the more clever things that they built into this is you press and hold down the button. You will hear yourself in your headphones before you do this. You press down on the button and hold it for a few seconds. Let it go. You talk at what is going to be your normal speaking voice for the content that you're about to create, and it will automatically bring your levels up or down to where they need to be so that you're not clipping, which immediately prevents you from having damaged audio recordings.
Yes.
And then there's some built-in presets for shaping your voice. So you can do things like, let's see if I press this button, what it does to my voice. I don't know if it did anything to my voice.
I think it brought you up a little bit, but I don't find much value in that button. Honestly, in my ears, I can't really tell.
I can tell if I do the whoa.
Yeah, I hear it now.
I can tell. Yeah, because I didn't actually push it the first time, or it didn't register the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely tell. Now that sounds more like the radio guy.
Yep. And now you just came back down.
Yeah, because I turned it off. So I'll turn this on. Welcome to Technically Working, your WKPM radio show of the hour. Or something like that. Yeah, that's the way that sounds. There are some presets, though, that you can use. Wait, hold on. I got to talk for a second to see if I can actually turn it off. Did it just cycle through them?
I don't think maybe it did. I don't know.
I don't know. The buttons seem to get sticky right there, too.
So can we talk about the elephant in the room, though?
What's that?
This thing will eat your laptop's battery.
Oh, my God. Man, I'm glad you said so, because you know what? I wasn't thinking about it because my laptop is actually plugged into a dock, so I'm not going to notice it. Yes. Yeah. So here's the thing to be very aware of. Very aware of. Do not forget this. It does not make it a bad device. It just means, hey, everything has its trade-offs. This is very lightweight. You can take it with you. Mike's been traveling around with his, and the knobs have not come off at all, which is amazing. Because feeling it, I wouldn't have expected that, to be quite honest. But here's the thing. If you just plug it into your laptop, I don't care what laptop you got. It can be a MacBook Pro, 16-inch, Apple Silicon, M4 Max. It can be whatever gaming Windows laptop you may have with a giant, enormous battery. This will kill your battery.
Yes. Guaranteed.
Guaranteed. If you start at 100%, you probably, on a decent sized laptop battery, you'll probably be able to get through the normal length of our shows, which is somewhere between an hour to maybe an hour and a half on the long side. Unless we got Steven. If you got Steven, just plug in everything.
Just plug everything in. Yeah. Now, I have not tested this, and I don't know if you have. It could be because of phantom power, because the microphones that I use with it require phantom power. And I don't... Have you tested that at all?
I have not, because I, like you, am usually using a condenser mic that needs phantom power. I am, at the moment, using a mic that does not require phantom power, so 48V phantom power is not on. I will not unplug now because of how stuff is hooked up. But I will give that a try over the coming days to see how that, if that has a difference in effect, because that could be the circumstance. With the mic that I'm using now, which is the Audio Technica one, it does not require phantom power, so that could absolutely be a thing.
What?
Yeah, that could definitely be a thing.
Yeah.
But just be aware of that. If you're using the mic that I'm using, I'll follow up in the next episode and let you know if I was able to get more battery life or not. But for sure, if you're using a condenser microphone where you need phantom power, you're gonna kill your battery. So plug it in is what I'm saying.
So we haven't mentioned the Apple event, mainly because we're recording this before the Apple event. So
we have no idea at this point what they announced. But if they announced anything, one of us probably bought something.
Damashe probably bought something because I ain't got any money left.
It depends on what they announce.
If they announced a laptop with cellular in it, I would have bought one, but I don't think that's happening yet. It would be nice, but I don't think that's happening yet. So we'll see. However, last week, in 153, when I asked Chris, and this is a... what do they call it? Spoiler alert. When I asked Chris, do you listen to the podcast? She said yes. And then we asked her for her opinion about the podcast or something of that nature.
Wait, hold on. Stop.
What did you do?
What happened to my audio? I muted for a second. Hold on, man. Let me fix that. That is it.
Oh, I wonder if you did auto gain and you thought you muted. Yeah, you went way up. We're just talking.
On the wrong button. Hold on.
Holy shit. Now he's doing auto gain.
Help me.
There we
Help.
go. There we go.
I don't know how to use my audio equipment. Okay, so the mute button is the one over there on that side.
So when you muted or thought you muted and then coughed or whatever you did, then it started doing auto gain and brought your audio way up.
Okay, well, hold on, because I got to stop you. How's it a spoiler alert? The episode already happened at this point.
If someone did not go back and listen to, like, maybe they're new to the show. Maybe this is their first episode and they hadn't listened to it. Because you got to remember, some people don't listen to every single episode. They should.
That's true. Okay. I just thought you were broken the timeline some kind of way in your mind.
No, I've got this timeline straight, man.
It's like I'm
I don't know how I got this timeline straight, but I got this timeline straight.
I mean, you had it straight when I did have it straight. You were like, this is going to be 153. I'm like, are you sure? How does that work? Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
carry on. My bad.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Anyways, we asked her what she liked or what we could do to improve the show or something like that. I don't remember exactly what the wording was. So you have the timeline straight, just not all the content. And she mentioned us going back to the basics and explaining a little bit about how we got started with, I think she meant in general AI stuff. Is that what you got out of that?
Yeah, it was. So her feedback, and just for people to be, well, Mike already said this, but just to be clear, we are recording this episode that you're hearing now before the Apple event, but about 2 weeks after we recorded with Chris.
Yeah.
Just to set the timeline, because I don't want anybody to be like, well, you just recorded the episode. You don't remember exactly what she said? No, it was like 2 weeks ago. And I have not heard the episode because it's not out yet as I'm recording this. So just to set the expectations here, we're going to, break that down. So what I remember her saying was two things, actually, that stuck to me. So longtime listeners will notice that we have been starting our last few episodes with saying, hey,
Yep.
that was feedback from Chris and also another guest on the show, Amanda, who was like, she never knew when did she miss part of the episode? She didn't know when we started. We've gotten this feedback from a few people.
Yeah, Callum gave it to us. Steven mentioned it, but he also said that's what set us apart. So, yeah, from a few people.
Yeah. And see, I always thought it was what set us apart. Like, you just dropped in the middle of the conversation. I want you to feel like, hey, you just, showed up to the meeting, a few minutes late or
That's
whatever,
the story of my life.
Just how we were already into it. Just join in, and eventually we're gonna leave you, and we'll talk next time. But based on her feedback, I did come up with an idea which we have not implemented yet. I need to follow up on that, but we have not implemented the idea I have as of yet, because I feel like at this point, getting that feedback from enough people means that we should maybe reconsider. A little bit, not too much. We're not going to have a jingle. There's just going to be none of that. We're not going to start off with this whole thing and some voiceover guy saying, this is technically working for, we're not doing that.
No.
But we're making some modifications. So in the meantime, while the thing that I'm working on gets done, I said, Mike, we should just start saying, hey, so people know that we're starting the show right now.
And it helps me remember when we're starting the show, too.
So, see, there's a benefit to it as well. So, shout out to everybody. Thanks for your feedback, because you have had an effect on the show, whether or not it's positive or not. We'll see. But it's helping Mike, at least. Let us know if it's helping you.
Feedback.
The other bit of feedback she gave us is that sometimes she likes the content. The content is good. She likes listening to the show. I'm not making this up. This is really what she said. Go back and listen if you didn't hear it. But sometimes when she's listening, she has no idea what we're talking about. And she said one thing that could be helpful is for us to go back and kind of cover some of the basics of how we got into certain areas. That kind of speared me along with another listener question about audio equipment, is why we're doing this mini-series on audio gear. Spurred me is what I meant to say, not speared me. Entirely the wrong word. But also, I think in that particular instance, like, AI was at least an example that she gave of like how we're using these generative tools. She's like, you guys would be way down in the weeds. Like, I have no idea what you're doing, but it would be good if you went back and kind of discussed how you got started, even with the programming stuff, which, could
Hmm.
be interesting to, from her perspective, like could be interesting to her if she knew where to start and what we were actually doing instead of, Mike's like, I updated Builder. And I'm like, yeah, I had it build a thing that does this thing. Or, I made it give me the code to, be able to push notifications to this thing or
Mm-hmm.
update an invoice from my phone as I'm buying things, like
Hmm.
just boom, all of this sort of stuff. So that is what I remember of the conversation. Mike was going somewhere with his thing, but I wanted to try to make sure we covered all of Chris's feedback as best I could.
No, my thing was really just to introduce that topic to kind of talk about how we got started and why we're going to talk about it. So, for me, I got started thanks to BITS, Blind Information Technology Solutions. And
Are you sure?
yes, now I'm going to look just to make sure. That's the issue with name changes. It used to be Blind Information Technology Specialists, and it is Blind Information Technology Solutions. Name change as of December of 2025. But I got started with my programming adventure thanks to
I want to
Ken.
register a protest. I'm a BITS member. I did not get notified of this change.
You did.
I
You
probably
didn't
did.
read your email.
I probably just didn't read it. I know. I know.
Yeah.
But subject
you
lines
even
are
had
important.
you
Subject line.
even had an opportunity to vote on the name change, and I bet you did not do that either. Just saying.
No, I didn't vote on. So, no, I didn't vote on the name change. But I'm also being a little extra dramatic just for the
Yeah.
effect, because I also remember this discussion happening on a call that I was a part of. I think it may have been a board meeting or something. So
Yeah.
I'm just being humorous or attempting to be humorous.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
subject lines, man, subject lines. I'm telling you, I didn't see this.
Very important. So 2024, there was a Python class, and that was held by Jeff, Taylor, Michael, Ken, and Joel, I think, was the other one there. Yeah. And so that was my introduction to VS Code and using VS Code as a integrated development environment. And, some of the hints that you can get. And I remember in 2024, Taylor trying to teach me how to use GitHub Copilot over a YouTube stream while she was showing others how to do it, and I'm chatting with her in live chat, still not like quite grasping the whole concept. And then 2025, I took on the ACB job in February of 2025. In May of 2025, I had had enough of that copying and pasting stuff. And I'm like, how can we fix this? What can we do to automate this? And I was reintroduced to GitHub Copilot, which is a AI tool in VS Code. And I really just went to GitHub Copilot and said, hey, I know Python can do this. Here are the issues that I'm having. Here are the problems I want to solve. Can you help me build a little script to do that? And I was pulling data that we had stored in Google Sheets. I was downloading the spreadsheets into Excel, or into CSVs, and then telling GitHub Copilot where those CSVs were housed, because I put them in a subfolder called data in the same folder. And I said, hey, loop through and find all the information for all the Sundays and put them in this order and make them in this font. And when I run this in the terminal, when I run this program in the terminal, I want it to generate this type of document. And that was my first experience really playing with GitHub Copilot, was because I had a problem to solve, and that was the problem to solve. I quickly learned this works, but I'm the only one that can use this, or other nerds like me are the only ones that can use this. And if data needs to get updated, it has to be updated in different places, and the script's going to break, and all of that type of stuff. And then that's what rolled me into Jeff made an offhanded comment about something he was making, was using a tool called PySide 6 to build the UI, because other tools Tkinter, I think is one of them, would render a UI, but that UI was not accessible. And I think that's what I've learned throughout this entire adventure of what is it, vibe coding experiences. Developers can make programs that do things that make your life easier. But if a blind, even if you're not a full developer, just someone who is able to manipulate artificial intelligence and get out of it what you need, you can render something and make sure that it's accessible for your accessibility needs. Now, 2026, Jeff and Taylor put together this series of, and by now this is over, and I don't know where the replays are, but they're doing a 2-day, 16-hour GitHub course the weekend of the 7th and 8th, 6th and 7th. No, 7th and 8th, it's Saturday and Sunday. So they're doing a 2-day in-depth 16-hour course on that, and I guarantee it's going to roll over into more likely. And this has, they are introducing the agents that Taylor and Jeff have put together that actually go through and test your code for accessibility and suggest implementations to make them more accessible. Let me take you a little bit in a slight different direction from where we started this and explain how this can help. As I just mentioned, you as a blind vibe coder, for example, could be making applications more accessible for you depending on what knowledge you have and how you are aware of what needs to happen to make things accessible. But that might just be accessibility from a keyboard perspective or accessibility from a keyboard and screen reader perspective. For me, I know nothing about like contrast issues because they don't impact me. And this is so bad to say it this way because this is why accessibility issues become a challenge. But because they don't impact me, I don't think about them as much as I probably should related to contrast issues. And so I've been vibe coding a couple of different web-based programs, one of which is a WordPress plugin, which is it's actually working and running right now on a live site. But another one is like a domain tracker and Zoom recorder downloader. All of those, I've asked these agents to go in and check for contrast issues, check for heading issues, which I am aware of headings, but you can just say check for accessibility and it has a whole list of 55 different things to check against, so your code and your applications are accessible. A sighted developer is not going to think, even a sighted vibe coder is not going to think about the accessibility challenges that might be faced by the programs and software that they create. And the guy who is behind Global Accessibility Awareness Day, I always forget his name, did an interview with Tom Merritt back in January at CES and talked about the different rankings of AI coding agents and their attention to accessibility. And yeah, so that's a long-winded story about how I got started from 2024 to today. How about you?
So I'm gonna take people back a little bit further than where Mike started. That's Mike's journey on programming, but honestly, we both got started. Mike was first, as is generally the case with new things. With GPT, when GPT exploded, Mike was, I want to say super early, but fairly early into it. Maybe 3.5, I think, may have been when you
Yep.
got in. And for everybody listening who's not ever used any of these tools or barely touched any of these tools, I wanna give a few caveats here. First off, most people are going to be familiar with GPT, Chat GPT. Right, that's the big name. That's kind of like the Kleenex of AI tools or the Google of AI tools. Everybody knows that name. There are several different options out there, and what you may have tried years ago, if you have tried it and it's like, oh, this sucks, I don't think it's useful, it's very different today, and it is a constantly moving landscape. it moves for the people who are old enough to remember the way Facebook's interface used to change. It really moves that fast. You go to sleep and wake up and they've rearranged your Facebook. Uh, and if you're too young, ask your parents. Or maybe not, because young kids don't use Facebook, is what I hear now. I don't know. But we both got started before any of these tools were focused on, and I don't even think Anthropic, they may have started, but they hadn't really gotten very far. Like and what I mean is like they may have started their company, but I don't think Claude was even a thing when we both started. Uh, Google came out with a tool that we won't name it anymore because it's much better than it was. But where we started using these tools was figuring out what they could be useful for. And I think that is the best advice that I've heard people give and that I can give anybody else that's not use these tools is give one of them a try on a free account and see, think of something that is either tedious or time consuming for you and see if it can help with that. And I'll tell you one place that me and Mike both started with was building newsletters or writing content in general. Getting some content written for newsletters. One sec. Man, I'm stuffed up really bad. Generating text for newsletters, and this was 3 years ago, so neither one of us was just copying and pasting like, oh, I need you to generate this for me, and then just copy the text and go paste it in a place and send it. Like, don't do that. You still don't do that today. But we definitely weren't doing that then. But we were trying, as many people were, just to figure out like where can this be helpful, where can it not be helpful. Does it replace a good copywriter? No. But does it solve a problem for a smaller business? Absolutely. That's what we discovered then. Getting into the programming side of things and the vibe coding, as they're calling it now, I think it is valuable for you to have a problem to solve, regardless of whether you're looking at programming or you're looking at other uses of LLM tools. Uh, Chris pointed out some things that she's had it do for her as far as like just creating images that she's able to then view on the the myriad of options of multi-line braille displays that she has at her disposal. She's able to look at these graphics and sometimes using them just for amusement, but also being able to incorporate them into her teaching plans. That is a use case. And again, it was her wanting to try to solve a problem and figuring out, just trying out the tools to see how they worked and see if it could do this or can it do that thing. And oftentimes that's how we discover stuff. I think a lot of people discovered that the LLM tools were good for coding because they started asking it to help write some code or review some code or, what's the error? Like, I think that may have been my first start was with using, and it was just ChatGPT at the time, using it for any sort of programming task was, why is this not working? Here's the error I got, or here's what I pulled out of the logs, or here's what this is supposed to do, but it's not working. Here's the code, or here's the error message I got back. And generally, I would say back then it was probably a 2 out of 3 chance it was going to get me to answer correct the first time. There are times it was very bad at just making up stuff, and I'm like, yeah, that didn't make sense. Or it would tell me what the problem was, but then its solution may not have been the right, way to approach it. But that's how I got started with it. Now, I was a part of that. I initially joined the Python class that Michael was in. I'm not gonna say stupidly. I'm gonna say I overreached a bit in what I thought my availability would be and my attention span, because I was also learning how to be a vendor, which is mostly learning how to do the task of learning about how you operate in a vending situation. So not a ton of time for that. And I gotta be honest. Like, I don't necessarily think for me specifically that was the best learning uh, pathway anyway.
Hmm.
I've one because I've never liked Python. Like, I don't know why, but I just never have liked Python. I know it's useful. I know it can do a lot of things. Claude just did a thing in Python the other night, and I was like, "Yep, good deal. You maintain that. I don't want to hear about it." Uh,
It'll write itself Python scripts to get jobs done.
yes, it absolutely will. But what I did take away from that class, and over the years have learned a bit, mostly self-taught. I've listened to a lot of developers or interacted with a lot of developers over the years. So I picked up tips and stuff here and there. People may, if you are a very long time listener, going back to the DMs, no, it would have been this show. Uh, Maybe DM series, the imposter syndrome, right? Like I'm writing code and I'm actually producing things that I wrote, and this is before LLMs, but feeling like I'm a phony. I have no idea
Mm.
what I'm doing out here trying to write code for a website that somebody's going to run their business on. The hell I think I am. Uh, Fast forward to the rise of LLMs, and I'm like, man, I'm not having to spend the major thing that the LLM did for me before I had it writing any sort of code was uh, in a sense, and I say this knowing fully aware that it's not alive and it's not a person, but getting a second set of eyes on some basic code, like, hey,
Mm.
does this work? Does this make sense? Because I optimize this in any way, and I wasn't spending literally hours digging through forums, generally starting with Stack Overflow and trying to find an answer. That was the first thing that kind of clicked for me with it was like I was able to get solutions or get answers that would start me to a better solution for a problem I was trying to solve without spending all of that time searching the internet. Um, and code is a pretty simple thing. Speaking very broadly, it's a rather simple thing for an LLM to deal with because it's programmatic. It's a knowable endpoint. If you write print, hello world, the result should be that you get hello world printed out on your screen or on a
Right.
web page, right? Like that's very straightforward as opposed to uh, analyze this document and give me some market trends. Like that's a little bit more nebulous. Or write me an excellent essay explaining the effects of local ordinances on the ability to have reasonable transportation, like for people with disabilities. Like that's again a bit more of a nebulous sort of thing, right? Uh, but that was my first real getting into it, and I would say it happened for me probably late 24. Uh, because I did come back from Gentry and I had a little time in between graduating from the BEP class and starting the route. And of course, we moved at some point during that process, but I think I was running the route by the time we moved. Yeah, because I remember having stacks of sodas in that old house as kids. It was just crazy. Couldn't even open the door all the way. But I do remember having a few tasks that I had to do, and I was like, "No, I don't have the time to sit down and devote to this. I need to get this resolved." And I was like, "Hey, I'll ask this Chat GPT thing," uh, and it's like, "Oh, well, yeah, this is the problem here, or this is why that isn't working." Or I pulled some logs off a server. And I was like, "What's going on here?" Because something seems funny. It's
Oh,
like, "Oh, this is
that's
going on."
that's huge. Analyzing logs because of all the date and timestamps. That saves so much time.
Now, let's say you're not doing any of this. You're not building WordPress sites. You're not hosting. You're not running a hosting business. You're not doing any of that stuff. You're Chris in this scenario, and you found maybe some uses for you that are again Chris's examples that she gave us. I was like, I never would have thought of that, but I'm also not in Chris's job day to day. But here are some places where I think, and we're there now. I feel much better than we were when me and Mike were starting with this, where I don't think I would have given this advice, but I think you're okay generally have it tested and remember, always ask, are you sure this works? I got a story about that in a second too. Oops, hold on. I just knocked my microphone loose. But let's take for an example. I'm not going to try to analyze Chris's job and exactly what she would need to do, but I'm going to use Chris as a person here who's not. I don't even think I would say probably not vaguely interested in like I need to program and I got to go pull some logs off a server to figure out a problem. Like she's not doing that. She don't care. She got people for that. But let's say Chris has to compile a bunch of notes into a summary. Now, she may not want to feed those notes to the LLM because they contain, private information or proprietary information. But she could go to, say, Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini, just being three of the ones that I would name, and maybe have it write an application or write a small script that can process, data out of a CSV, for example, and compile it into a Word document for her. And that runs locally on her computer once that little script or little app has been written. So she's not feeding any proprietary information into a LLM directly. Mm-hmm. She just had to write an app that's now running on her computer that will pull the data out of a CSV file or a spreadsheet or any number of documents that she feeds to it, and then compile a summary of those documents, right? Or a summary of the information contained within. That could be something that could dramatically speed up her day, just because she's not spending time flipping back and forth between reading this spreadsheet and I'm writing over here. Command tab, read the spreadsheet. Command tab, I'm writing over here, right? Could just shave a few minutes off a day, but a few minutes off of, I don't know, 325-ish average working days or something like that. Like, it's a lot of time.
It adds up, even if it's only a minute or two. That gives you back 5 hours a week. I mean, a year. The other thing is lesson planning or reviewing what you're, and this is where I've gotten some other value from it, is take what I want to cover in a lesson or in a mini course or in something, take that information and tell me where I'm missing learning points. Where are some gaps in the education for what I plan to cover, and how can I fill those in? And I think that right there can be huge, because the LLM, depending on the one you're using, might find things that you didn't even think about. But when it presents that information to you, you're like, oh, that makes sense. They have to know this before we can move on to that.
Yeah. Sometimes it's good at spotting gaps in things like that, just because in your mind, like you logically, you make the logic leap from where you start to where you end up at, but they're just points that you didn't specifically write out, right? So if you start going off your notes, you completely, that particular day, step 2.5 isn't in your brain. But if I asked you about this on a different day, like, yeah, you remember step 2.5. I would say another area that it could also be useful is if you are interested in learning about a topic, or you want to learn more about a topic, like going through that, like I've started picking up, and not, I don't have, anything going out making trades on my behalf, or I'm not just following, LLM advice on what to invest into. But some of the terms in the market that I was like, I vaguely, and when I say vaguely, I really mean vaguely understand what this means.
Like PE ratios?
Off inference. Oh, no, we ain't even got there. No, I was like, break down options. Like,
yeah.
Like, I kind of think I know, but I learned some things about, options. Like,
what's market cap? What's, just those terminologies that's used every day.
Yeah, getting that terminology in any field, I think, could be helpful if it's not your professional field. And this is also information that is fairly easily verifiable, right? Like it tells you. And 2 tips I'll give you. Number one, if you're looking at something like my example with the stock market, like, explain options, like stock. I'm looking at these things like, oh, here's some options. Like, okay, what are my options? Like, what does that mean? I think I know what I'm getting into, but what does this mean? And it explained it to me. Well, one, I could go search the internet and find a financial blog or outlet that would also explain that. Maybe not as explaining it to me like I was five, which is what I asked it to do because I don't know what I'm doing. But at least would use similar terminology where I can be like, okay, yeah, what it said was okay, or what it said was correct information. Another way to also verify something that you can't be 100% certain of and you want to make sure, go to another LLM. They're not the same. I guarantee you they're not the same.
Nope.
So you get some output from ChatGPT, for example. You're like, okay, well, copy that and then bounce over to Gemini.google.com or something, or Claude.ai. And it's like, hey, listen, I was having a chat with a friend or whatever, however you want to phrase this, but I've done this before. Like, I was talking to a friend and they told me this. Is this valid? And, see if it comes back with similar information.
Hmm.
Uh, you know,
And
I
it
have,
might come back with similar information, but explain it to you differently too, which is what has happened to me, and that
I was
helps
going
me
to say,
better understand it.
yeah, like it takes that and then it gives you back a different, it explains, like Mike said, it explains it differently. I often done this and I tell Mike to do this a lot of times too, like take your code and then go over here to a different LLM and, tell her like, hey, I wrote this or a friend gave me this to look at or I had somebody review this. Is this
This fell
correct?
off a
Like,
truck.
yeah, yeah. So there's that, but the way we really got started is just jump in and start using it. And don't jump in and start like we talk about some things that we're building. Like I built some tools that right now. The only reason Claude isn't running in the background working on something right now is because I hit my whatchamacallit. So I gotta
Limit.
wait for a couple hours. Yeah, but there's a couple of things to be aware of with first with myself, which is like I said, I wouldn't say I'm a great programmer. I would say the self-taught programming that I have learned over the years would make me probably a slightly better than average, very junior developer if I went and applied for a job. Uh, I could be selling myself short a little bit there, but I think that's fair. I don't think I'm overselling myself at all. Uh, and the reason I say slightly better than average, junior developer, which means like put me against a kid, or put me against a person. Kid seems pejorative. Put me against a person that went to school for computer science, and there are going to be concepts that they understand or that they're aware of that I may not, have that much of a grasp upon. But for a lot of it, my life experience being a computer user and big, giant, huge air quotes hacker, and I mean hacker like just, hey, I'm going to go poke at this machine over here and see what it does. I've been doing it for over 40 years. So there's that aspect of my learning. Uh, and have I written huge, giant, complex projects? No, but I have written code that works and it's still running today. So I say slightly better than an average junior developer because some people go to school, and I know some people like this. They go to school for computer programming or some kind of computer science degree. And one thing for what I consider at least to be good programmers that I have looked up to or have had the fortune the benefit of their reading their content. There's a certain way you think about things as a programmer, I feel like. And there are programmers out here who don't know how to write code because they think like programmers when they're breaking down problems. Uh, I would say friend of the show, but I don't think she knows we have a show. Allison Sheridan. I think she's an engineer, so there's one aspect of it. But again, I
Hmm.
think she's a person that always had a programmer sort of mind because she spawned the original. What is the problem to be solved? Like first, stop trying to come up with all these solutions, or we need to do X, Y. What are we trying to actually solve first? And to me, that is a perfect programmer framing of any problem. Like, what am I actually trying to solve? And then you start working on first breaking down what the thing is that needs to be solved. What's the ultimate goal? Well, the ultimate goal is I don't want to have to type anything onto my iPhone. I just want to say a couple of words in the air, and then this thing happens. All right, well, let's break that down into pieces. Right? So that way of analytical thinking is always me, probably sometimes to my detriment, because I take people very literally sometimes when they say things. That's why Mike's my front man. He does all the talking. But I think just trying out the tools and seeing what they can do, seeing how they can solve a problem for you. And listen, some of the things that you may read or hear people do, we don't talk about them because I don't actually do them. Mike may do them, but I've never done it. I've done it just on a whim because I read it somewhere. Somebody did this. Hey, give me a recipe. Here's what I got in my fridge right now. Give me a recipe for this.
Yeah, I did that
You would
today.
be surprised the stuff it comes up with. You know, that could be a way for anybody to get started just using the tool. Like, hey, I have this, you know, in my fridge. What could I make with this stuff? Or I want to know how to make this meal or create this dish, you know, but I don't eat this particular food, or I don't know how to prepare this food. There's a lot of things that you could do getting started with the LLM, but really the main point is just start somewhere. It doesn't have to be start out with jump into, you know, write me a custom built to do list application. Because it's going to be a little harder, right? Because it's not going to get it right in one shot. And
Nope.
if you don't know what you don't know about how to guide it, because here's why we keep hearing LLMs, you know, AI is what they're saying. They say AI. I guess I should say AI. AI is going to take all the jobs and people are going to be unemployed. Now, you have some silly people, not going to name any companies, even though there's a recent one that I'm kind of surprised this person took this jump with their company, but at the same time, I don't think I should be. But there's some companies who are laying off people because like, oh yeah, the LLMs, the AI can take care of these types of jobs, you know, perfectly. Well, we don't need, we have an overabundance of people now because we just put the AI to work. One thing I've said before, and I'll say it again. There's always and Chris said this as well, like the human aspect of a thing, right? Like there still needs to be humans, right? You still because computers don't have any compassion. You're a one or you're a zero. They're just going to crush the numbers, right? They're going to do exactly what you tell them to do. If you tell the computer to cut company expenditures annually by 20%, it's going to figure out a way to do it. Might not be the best way to do it, but it's going to figure out a way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
A person may be able to look at, well, yeah, I mean, we are paying quite a bit for water delivery monthly, but it's not an expense we're really willing to take away because then what are our people going to drink? They don't have the ability to just leave the office and go grab something to drink. And if you bring in your own water, well, now we have a recycling problem or something like so. That's not the best way to cut expenditures. Uh, you know, maybe we go from 20-ounce cups to 12-ounce cups. That you know that might save us a few pennies there. Or maybe instead of having smaller cups, we go to bigger. Like there's different things that a human is going to take
Right.
into account that I don't think LLMs will ever be able to take into account. And if they come from me in 10 years when they're able to do all that stuff, well, whatever.
I mean, I think that goes back to the context, and that's not a conversation for today because we're getting close on time. But I think if the LLM the AI is given enough context, it could make some of those decisions and make those faster than the humans. But the problem is the AI is going to make those decisions based on the information they have, not all of the information that a human might have because a human forgot to give it certain information. Maybe
There's also that.
Joe's working an extra 10 hours because, you know, I don't know why. And if we just work with Joe and have him cut those hours back, sorry, Joe, then that saves us a significant amount of money. But if the AI doesn't know about that, just like if a human doesn't know about something that's happening, the human can't make decisions on that.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, and we're getting closer to that. But where I was kind of going with that is looking at programming, for example. And again, Chris gave some excellent examples. Like she uses the tools to enhance what she's able to do. I think that's what a lot of programmers are learning. It's definitely what I learned. Yes, it can do some things that I absolutely would not have been able to do, but Take Mike's builder tool, for example, because we talked a lot about that. Mike's builder tool, yeah, wrote most of the code. Mike probably may have written, Mike, would you say 20% of the code you wrote?
Oh, if even that.
So, Mike didn't write much of the code, but I don't think there is, at least not at this point, and I don't know that we get there because, again, programming is such a distinctly, I think, human thing. And I say that in the sense of writing the code is not distinctly a human thing, but what is the problem you're trying to solve? What is this supposed to look like? Like Mike's experience as a computer user and Mike's desire to take to shorten or reduce the amount of time it takes him to do a task allows him to direct. Let's say this kind of puts you in a position of being more of a, in your case at least, and in my case as well, I would say more in a position of being like a product manager
Yeah.
as opposed to a senior developer. It's like, hey, I'm telling the developer what I need to happen, and when it doesn't happen the way I need it to happen, oh, I didn't explain that right, or this is not what I expected. I wanted that, right? And I think that's going to be the use case for LLMs, at least for AI tools. I think we're kind of there. I'm not going to say we're stuck there, but I think we're kind of there for the next couple of years. Like we're going to get better at a lot of things. We're going to get faster at a lot of things. I think the cost is what the focus is right now of getting the cost down on these tools. But I think the best starting point for anybody is one, don't get caught up in the hype, like because hype is hype. Like we've all seen it. It happens with everything that comes out. The AirPods Pro 3 are the best AirPods Apple has ever made until they drop the AirPods Pro 4. And those will be the best. So just think about that. Think about the phones every year. Every year there's a new phone, and every year it's the best iPhone or the best Pixel or whatever that we've ever made. Or this is revolutionary in phones, and it's like, yeah, you just got it in a different color and the camera's slightly better. Okay, don't get caught up in the hype. Don't feel like you have to use it. I think that's the other thing. Uh, Literally, don't try to force a square peg into a round hole. Like if it doesn't work for a situation for you, it doesn't work for that situation. Uh, maybe the tool isn't there for that, or perhaps you're just better at that thing and you don't need the tool for that. But just get out there and try something. And again, start simple. You don't have to start with, Chris's theoretical report generation app that I just made up for a few minutes ago. You don't have to start there. I wouldn't even attempt to start there, honestly. I would start with something basic.
Yeah. Yeah. Go
If
ask
you
your
got questions
questions.
specifically, we'll touch on these topics a little bit more going forward as well. Just, as we, it's one of those situations, at least for me, where it's hard to tell people what to do because like there's so much you could do. So really just, open up chat.com or Claude.ai, CLAUDE. I'm really liking Claude right now. So I'm just, I'm pushing for Claude real hard. But, open up either one of them and just, ask it what it can do. Start having a conversation with it. Like that's another starting point. We'll touch on this more as we delve deeper into things and learn more because we're learning as well because again this stuff really is changing super fast.
It is. And I think we'll do our best to remember that not, and sometimes I'm guilty of that. I can't speak for Damashe, but not everyone is spending all day or a good portion of their day using these tools. So we need to try to remember to break things down a little bit and include those who may not be doing this every day. And I guess my last piece of advice before we wrap it today is don't deny that AI is prevalent in the world. I think people who are anti-AI, I say this in the nicest way possible. Like, yes, it's okay not to be all about AI like some of us are and all up on it, but that would be like a person in the office when Microsoft Office came out saying, I'm never going to use that Microsoft Office, it's never going to work for me. And now Microsoft Office is so prevalent in the workplace that you have to be comfortable with it to get a new job. I think AI skills are going to be valued, and it's going to be one of the things right now. If you apply for a job doing clerical work, for example, one of the job requirements is experience with Microsoft Office. I think you're going to see experience with artificial intelligence in a lot of your job descriptions moving forward. And so just be comfortable with that and don't get overwhelmed.
Yeah, agreed. And yeah, I don't really have much more to add to that. I mean, it's here. It's
Yep.
not going anywhere. Like, it's going to be around. So make use of it. Learn how to use it. It can be beneficial. And, you know, like Mike said, learning to use the tool will make you better positioned to know what it's good for and what it's not good for. I can absolutely tell you things that it's not good for. I can tell you things that it's great for. But it's because we've been using the tools, right? And as Mike said, we'll it's and yeah, I am sometimes guilty of like just jumping into a topic because we're chatting about a thing. But sometimes taking the time to just kind of review like where we been, how we got here, and we'll follow up with more of this because I think it's worth really talking about where things are sort of positioned out here with these tools at another time on a different setup for me probably.
Speaking of AI, before we wrap it up, today, the day after this show comes out is Google I/O. I was just doing that math in my head, so that's pretty exciting. Did you see any clips from the Samsung event?
I did not.
So I didn't either until I was sucked into that deep abyss called TikTok as I was posting some work TikToks, and then I went and watched some videos. And one of the things there was one of the guys from Samsung was talking about how he can use Gemini. They had a family thread, and he's like, I just got off work, and now the family's all texting me because it's time for pizza tonight. And so and so wants pizza from this place, and this person wants this kind of pizza with none of these toppings, and this person wants this type of protein on their pizza. And you know what? I just don't got time to deal with this. So I tell Gemini to go in and figure out what it is that everyone wants and order it from my favorite delivery app, and add the correct pizzas to the cart and let me know when it's done. And he's like, I can still make phone calls and send text messages and do other things. But when my Gemini is ready for me, it'll tell me it's added the items to my cart. And then I'll go look at my cart, see if everything looks good, tap the checkout button, and then I'm on with my day. And that's where Apple, I think, will eventually get to. It's where maybe it's where I think Pixel will get to faster than Apple in some cases, because Google has no problem with using the cloud and Apple's trying to keep everything on device. And it's where AI can get exciting, I think. We'll see, though.
I think that's when it's going to make a lot more sense or not be as big of a issue for a lot of people too, is when there's those kind of, and listen, Apple really failed, like just putting it there, like they failed. And it's not because they made this, I mean, they shouldn't have made the announcement they made, granted, but I think their biggest failure was, I think they got spooked by the stock market. I think they got spooked by shareholders or something more related to public perception and stock instead of Apple being Apple. Apple rarely is the first to do a thing. What Apple has a tendency to do, and evil people who are, I wouldn't say Apple haters, but they're not Apple users, not Apple fans at all. They're Google, Samsung, Microsoft people. When it comes to their device choices and operating systems, whatever. But what people generally can agree on, love or hate Apple, is they will come in and take a thing that was complicated over here or was a little fractured experience over there and bring it in, and it just kind of works in the phone and everything, or it works on the device and everything. It just kind of flows smoothly and it's not even a big deal, right? And if they would have rolled AI features in like that, where I could say, hey, listen, like, it's chick, I don't have time to read these 17 messages that Mike just sent me. Like, what the hell is he actually talking about? And is there anything that I need to add to my reminders list? Can you take care of that for me? Right? It goes through, it says, oh, well, Mike sent a link about this. He sent another link about this. He asked you about that. Okay, so I put these links in a document for you to review later. And Mike also wants to know, can you move recording to tomorrow? Because he says he's tired of listening to your voice today because he's been editing audio. It's like, okay, cool. Right. But they didn't do that. They
Nope.
shot way beyond where I think anybody's tools were capable of doing in 2024. And ever since then, they're still trying to get to that particular point, and that's the problem, right? They're now at a point where Samsung has just announced a feature that Apple should have probably had already. For something like that, Apple should have had this done. But it's shooting for the. It's refusing to let good enough. What is? How does that go?
I don't know. I know what you're trying to say.
Allowing perfect to be the enemy of good. Is where, and that may not be the exact right quote, but you get what I'm saying. Like, oh, well, we said we were going to do X, Y, Z,
so now we
gotta
have to do X, Y, Z
instead of just getting X, Y out and then coming back to Z, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of where they messed up at. But I think that's going to make a lot more sense to people. Unfortunately for everybody, including me, who and listen, as Mike said, you don't have to be all about the AI. Don't let the hype get away from you in any scenario. Whether it's gonna be amazing, it's gonna change the whole world, or we're all gonna die. Like neither, all of those are extremes. I don't think we're gonna end up in an extreme situation. But listen, like as much as we talk about it, as much as I use these tools, like I'm still the most paranoid person you will ever encounter. I mean, literally, our claw will be going to work this week because I finally got it set up. I just got to get OpenAI in instead of Claude. But other than that, like it's ready to go. But like I really had to take time with security stuff because I was like, man, listen, all you're doing is posting to managing the bot on Mastodon. But still, like let's not be reckless. I'm terrified of this stuff. Like I'm just like, oh, people are just like, I bought a Mac Mini and then I signed it to all my accounts. Okay, well that was kind of dumb. Like you should have just signed in on your computer then, because it's got all your stuff. Listen, the tools are here. We don't know how they're gonna land out, but again, just don't let the hype get away from you. Don't feel like you're forced to use them. Just fine. Even if your usage of them is could be considered insignificant. I'm not going to say they are insignificant because I feel like any learning that anybody does with any tools are significant because you're growing and you got to keep learning. That's the main thing. Keep learning, right? Don't let, Sam Altman or any of the rest of these cats, overhype this stuff, and don't let none of the doomsayers, they're just going to kill us all by 2032. Yeah, we got bigger problems than AI, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
We want to thank everybody for listening, though. This has been, no, we're not to that point yet. We got to do the rest of the stuff. Thanks to everybody for listening. We will have the open claw, running. Well, by the time you're hearing this, the claw would have been running. Now, I may have also gotten really scared and shut it down by now. By the time you're hearing this, the open claw would have been running to manage our bot, and it remains to be seen whether or not we've given it more responsibilities or just completely shut that server down and asked the people that host it to burn it up, throw it into the sun. We'll see. But we want to thank everybody for listening. If you are a new listener, welcome. If you have been with us for a while, we appreciate it. Tell a friend. Give us your feedback. Feedback at technicallyworking.show is how you can email us. Big shout out to the tip jar subscribers. Thank you very much. Whether you are a ongoing supporter or one-time tips work as well. And listen, since the claw is going to be using OpenAI, I got to keep paying for that. Because, Claude's tokens over the API are just stupid expensive, so we ain't doing that. We'll use the OpenAI subscription and for ChatGPT and let that manage the bot. Thanks, everybody. Mike is on Mastodon. He is Payon, Payown, at dragonscave.space. I'm going to pre-record that at some point. And just push a button.
And just hit a button on Farrago.
Yeah, because I really just need the space.
Yeah.
I am Damashe, Damashe, at technically.social. I don't think I get a reverb on mine. Follow the bot, TW at technically.social. And you can use the hashtag technically working. We appreciate you capitalizing the T and the W. And listen, man, there are other things out here in the Fediverse besides Mastodon. Like, hashtag us from over there on Matrix or something. Let's see if that works.
And if you are hashtagging us, send us an email so we know, because if it's not working, then we don't know.
Yeah. So if neither one, that's a good point. If neither one of us interacts with you at all, drop us an email or something, because that means maybe it's not working. Because we both have the hashtag technically working saved in our Mastodon clients of choice as saved searches, so we can just quickly go jump and look at those.
And I don't think we trust the bot to go search the Fediverse for hashtag technically work.
Listen. The bot is just going to post for a while. Like, we're going to keep it very simple and see if it gets out of control or not. Like,
Are you going to give it goals? Like, your objective is to get more awareness about the podcast through the use of posting on Mastodon? Or are you just going to say post on Mastodon? Because I'm not sure what the right answer to that is. You hadn't thought about it, had you?
Part of me just really wants to be like, no, I'm actually giving it a goal. So look at our look. Here's where the podcast is hosted. Look at the transcripts. In a non-spammy way, this may not be the exact thing, but like in a non-spammy way, try to raise awareness about the show by pulling, interesting quotes or clips that Mike may have shared and repost. Also, look back at Payon's posts on Mastodon.
I see. So you're giving it access to my profile, so I can scrape all my stuff and start with,
look, man, it's probably going to go scrape everybody's stuff.
Probably.
That's why.
It's going to start blackmailing me based on something I said in 2008 or something.
That's why we're just no. It's only just going to be restricted to looking at your Mastodon post about
okay.
So you can repost like some of the clips you posted from months ago.
Yeah, because I ain't posted any clips of this show recently.
Yeah. Well, I'll say that just like, it's kind of like that repost thing that you had with like, I posted this, 6 months ago, but hey, we're going to bring it back now, make new people aware of the thing. Yeah, kind of like that sort of deal.
Yeah.
That's where we're starting.
I remember that plugin. That was a cool plugin.
You could probably write it now.
Yeah, probably in like 20 minutes with clock code. Anyways.
People need to calm down with killing the stock market too, just because, oh my God, everybody going to start coding their own sauce tools. We won't need a thing. Man, listen, writing a decent program that actually works the way you want it to work consistently, it ain't that easy. It's very time consuming and it can get very expensive because I've hit my limits a couple of times.
He's also not paying Claude $100 a month yet.
I am not doing that yet. I'm not doing that yet because I have taken a different approach, and I'm trying to have a conversation with Anthropic about that. So we'll
you and your assistant wrote a really good email.
Yeah, man, listen, that email was, all I did was write a hell of a lot into a prompt. Like, it was probably a good paragraph of what I wanted, and then that's the email I got out. We'll tell you what we're talking about later. Because one, I want to see if I get a response, and two, if I can talk about it. Because I think there is potentially an opportunity here for big business to happen.
And Anthropic, if you're listening to this, to be like, hey, what the hell is he talking about? I heard
check your email.
Well, check your email, but I also heard that you are sponsoring History That Doesn't Suck podcast. So, technically working doesn't suck, so you could sponsor us too by checking your email. Anyways.
And listen, Claude is always technically working, right? All the time. Working right now for somebody. So listen, make that happen. Like that could be some good ad copy right there. We'll have Claude write it, as a matter of fact. We really sound like we was like this about you. I don't know. I don't feel like we was just bad about. Okay,
No.
we're gonna wrap up the show first. Hold on. Hashtag attending. Okay. Thanks everybody for listening. This has been episode number
154.
Yeah, because Mike can count.